Joining me now is Philippe Reines, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and former spokesman for Hillary Clinton. He also stood in for Trump in Secretary Clinton's debate rehearsals. It's nice to see you again, Philippe. So, why the decision now for the Biden campaign to commit to these debates? What was behind the specific timing? And do you think the debates will definitely happen?
Well, I think they'll happen because it would be very hard to not happen given the commitment. Although I will say if they don't, it won't be because of Joe Biden. It'll be because of Donald Trump. He will either make noise about he doesn't like that the moderators or they won't agree to his requirement that Joe Biden takes a cocaine test, which he's already making noise about, or that they're not agreeing to more networks. But no, I think it was as simple as Joe Biden is ready to debate, and Joe Biden said that. And it was a smart move, and it seems to me like they got the better of Donald Trump and crew.
Yeah, you're echoing David Axelrod's sentiments as well. But let me ask you, because Axios political reporter Alex Thompson told CNBC that Biden's advisors are split on the debate, some saying it's too risky to get on a stage with Trump. But is it necessary to draw that direct contrast between Trump and Biden and remind voters that these are their options?
Well, I think one thing all staff had in common is that we all kind of get very nervous about things. We hold our breath. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than watching our candidate go out on stage for 90 minutes, let alone against a wild card like Donald Trump. But it is necessary. And look, Donald Trump, it's not like they've never debated before. Donald Trump and Joe Biden debated twice. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton debated 3 times. So he's debated 5 times in the general election one-on-one. We have a sense of who he is. Joe Biden did really well. And yeah, it is important to see a contrast. We are voting between these two guys. We spent a lot of time talking about people aren't happy about the choice. You know what? Get over it. This is the choice. And you know what? For as much time as we spend talking about them, they're never together. It's possible the last time they were on stage together was the last time they were on stage together for the debate. This is an important moment. And, it's unpleasant for Joe Biden to have to do this. He doesn't have to do it. But I think in his gut, he wants to show. I think if I were him, and more importantly, I'm not him, but he has the best around him. He has Ron Klain, his first chief of staff, who has done this for Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the people, around Ron, like me, used to work with him and for him. We would always say, in Ron, we trust. I think it's twofold. It's one, it's remind and it's reveal. There's this odd amnesia going on about forgetting about the catastrophe and the noise and the cacophony going on around Donald Trump when he was president. And this is a good opportunity to remind people because Donald Trump makes it really easy. You bring him on stage and he reveals who he is. Even if for 10 minutes he holds it together, for 20 minutes he won't. And then for 10 minutes, maybe he'll get tired and hold together. And in the next 30 minutes, he won't. We'll see him for who he was 4 years ago for 4 years. And that seems to be really important because for whatever reason, people just don't remember. They remember that the Dow was high. They remember that their 401ks were doing okay. And that's not enough. That's not what's going on in America.
I'm curious, you're talking about these debates. What were your biggest takeaways from Biden-Trump in 2020, even the Trump-Clinton debates that stood out to you in a Donald Trump world to help Hillary Clinton prepare, right? That the Biden campaign learned an audience fuels Trump's performative streak, so they demanded no audience. But the crowd can also be a distraction, right? So what would be your best advice for Biden at this time?
I think the audience debate right now is a little bit being hyped because the general election debate, it's not like you have rabid primary voters. You often have party bigwigs, donors. I remember bumping into Sheldon Adelson. I mean, Sheldon Adelson is not getting up and interrupting with applause every 2 minutes. So to the extent that Donald Trump does feed off those things, I'm not sure that that's at play. What I do think is that, when we practice and, I was like a tennis, ball machine. It's not like there aren't a huge number of parts to it. It's like any other thing where there's multiple people involved. I actually had the easiest job. I just had to show up and rant like a crazy person. But we had to do a lot of guessing because he had never debated one-on-one. So we didn't have any basis for doing it. And when Joe Biden debated for the first time, he had never done it. But he has now had prep in the sense of doing it twice. And I think the biggest difference between the 2 years is that it's really not just the debates, it was the campaigns. Donald Trump, for lack of a better word, as much as it kills me to say, had a message in 2016. It was wrapped in his typical, bluster and lies and obnoxiousness. But it was about immigration and healthcare and jobs leaving America. In 2020, he had no message. He was just a machine of anger. So the question is now, post his grievances of 2020 and believing that the election was stolen, how much of this does he show up and just continues with that nonsense? And how much does he show up and revert to some semblance or one iota of message? And that's, I think, what remains to be clear. And I think Joe Biden will be ready for either part of it. But that's the good thing about Donald Trump is that he's the most predictable, creature on God's green earth. So while it is unpleasant to be up there, Ron Klain and company will make sure, and Joe Biden, who had the hardest job here, will have seen every look. By January 28th, the night after the first debate, we'll find out.
Okay. You know what, Philippe, I think if they're smart, they're going to reach out to you, too, because you bring a wealth of experience and information.
I don't know Joe Biden well enough. Part of it was that I knew Hillary, so I could get under her skin with just showing my face. That was half the battle.
Well, you did a good job. Okay, Philippe, good to see you again. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you, Alex.